going to be doing a first impressions video on Daiso makeup. And if you're not sure what Daiso is, it's pretty much like a Japanese version of a cheap store, and they actually have a huge range of makeup where everything is $2.80. So I thought that it would be beneficial to pick up a couple of products and let you guys know what I thought about them, as they are so cheap, and I know many of you are probably skeptical. I mean, $2.80 for makeup, so that's why I thought that this tutorial might help, this first impressions makeup tutorial. So this is the look that I created. I used 2 palettes for my eyes to give some sort of indication of what their eyeshadows are like. I used their foundation and concealer, which is crazy when you think about $2.80 for face products. It's awesome. So I was impressed with those, as you will see in the video. And then I just used my own lipstick and I filled in my eyebrows with my own stuff, but I also used one of their mascaras as well. So stay tuned and keep watching if you're interested in seeing what I thought of Daiso makeup. The first Daiso product that I'm going to try out is this foundation. So I picked up a liquid foundation from Daiso. I believe this comes in 3 different shades. I picked up the lightest shade, primarily because the other 2 colors didn't match my skin tone at all. So in regards to skin tone and coloring, this was probably my best match. They don't have a massive range of colors, so that's one negative, but I guess we'll see if this is good or not. It's $2.80, as I mentioned, so yeah, everything is really cheap, so you can't expect too much from them. So it comes in a tube where you can squeeze it at the top, so that's better than I was expecting actually. I'm using a flat top kabuki just to apply some of that. As you can see, it's almost like a mixture between a liquid and a cream product. It's very thick and chunky, so it almost sort of is like a mousse formulation, but a little bit thicker. Okay, so let's see how this applies. Ooh, it's cold actually. Okay, so as for color match, I think it might be a little bit too light. I can also already tell that it's extremely blendable, so you only need a little amount, because I can tell I've already put too much product on the brush. So yes, you definitely only need a little amount with this foundation, so it seems. I'm just going to blend this in. It's very blendable though, so it seems to have sunk into my skin really well. I can't say that it's exactly full coverage, it's probably medium coverage. Okay, so this is with 1 layer of this liquid foundation. Now for $2.80, I am so impressed. Honestly, this is very impressive for such a cheap product. The only thing I have to say is that it does leave a bit of a sticky consistency, a bit of like a sticky residue on your skin, which I particularly don't like. But some foundations that are way more expensive in the drugstore from Rimmel and Maybelline also leave that sticky residue. So, I mean, it's just a personal preference thing really. But I think for 1 layer of foundation, it's definitely covered a lot. So I would have to say it's medium coverage, and I'm going to be able to test if it's buildable, because I'm going to try a second coat and see how that goes. So I'm just going to repeat that process. I'm not going to apply as much product to my brush this time, because we saw what happened last time I applied too much. So onto the second layer. Final thoughts on the foundation. I'm not going to apply another layer just because I fear that it's going to become even more sticky. I would have to say it's not the worst foundation I've tried. It's probably very comparable to something like a BB cream, something maybe like the Maybelline Dream BB cream. It's sort of similar to that in regards to coverage and consistency. It is buildable, but you don't want to apply too much just because then it becomes casty, and you've got to remember it is a little bit sticky. So that's my final thoughts on the foundation. But honestly guys, for $2.80, I can't complain. I think that it did a great job for how much it was. I mean, under $3 for a product, and for it to give results like this, I really can't say much negative about it, just because although there were some flaws in the product, it's so affordable that I think you are getting value for money. Now I've just filled in my eyebrows a little bit, and I'm moving on to the next Daiso product, which is a concealer. And let's just take a moment to appreciate the amazing packaging on this product. I think this is stunning. It's so gorgeous. It's got this little knob up the top that looks like a crystal. The packaging is just amazing. So this is a stick concealer. You open it up like this and you wind it up. I'm going to try and attempt to use this as an under eye concealer. I'm not sure about how the colouring will go. if this is light enough, especially considering how light my foundation I used was. But I'm going to give this a go underneath my eyes and see how it goes as an under eye concealer. Okay, so first initial thoughts is that it's very creamy and that the colour is a little dark. So it's really creamy, it glides on very, very nicely. The only issue is that the colouring is a bit dark. I'm not sure if this will make a difference when I blend it out, but we'll see. Okay, so I just finished blending that concealer out and I think it did an alright job. I mean, I'm quite impressed for a $3 concealer, although it probably wasn't the perfect colour and it is quite tacky just like the foundation was. It still is quite great. It's given me pretty good coverage. It's covered up my under eye circles. It was an alright consistency. It was very smooth gliding on to the skin. But then when I tried to blend it out with the brush, it didn't really cooperate, but that's fine. A lot of concealers go a bit streaky when you try and blend them out with a brush, so just use your fingers to help it blend into your face and blend into your skin better, and it worked perfectly. So the only recommendation for that one would be use your fingers instead of a brush. And other than that, I think it's a great concealer. I'm just going to go over all of that with some of my Australis Fresh and Flawless powder, as both products are quite tacky. So they definitely need some mattifying. Moving on to eyes, I bought 2 different eyeshadow palettes to try out. The first being this glitter shadow. It comes with 5 different colours and I think they all look really beautiful, really neutral colours. The next is a quad, which has more greeny olivey shades in it. So I'm excited to see how these go and if one is better than the other. I'm going to use shades from both of the palettes to get an indication of what they're like, if one is better than the other. So yeah, I'm going to just play around and come up with a look with these colours. What I'm going to do to test how good these eyeshadows are is prime one lid with eyeshadow primer and leave the other one bare. So this is just going to test how they work without any assistance. So on this lid I have applied the Essence Eye Primer, so we're going to see if that eye picks up the eyeshadows better than this eye without the primer. First up, I'm taking the glitter palette and I'm going to apply this second colour here, which is sort of like a glittery sandy beige. As far as I can see here, it's extremely pigmented. Although it's quite chalky, it looks like it's really pigmented and I'm going to get some really good colour payoff. So I'm just going to apply this first of all to this lid. Wow, this is actually really impressive. So there's a lot of fallout, but I'm impressed with how amazing the pigmentation is. So that is actually quite a nice colour. It is quite chalky, but I think with a lot of blending, it could actually look really, really nice. So now onto the eye without the primer. So it isn't picking up as well on that eye, which is to be expected, but it still looks quite nice with just a little bit of product on there. Now taking the second quad that I got, I'm going to be using this greenish colour up here, this sort of like deep olivey colour, and applying that into my crease. Just going to lightly apply that, and so it looks like we're going for a golden olivey look, and I really like the way that this is turning out. Okay, so this is a great crease colour. I think it's quite pigmented and really impressive, if you guys can see that. Obviously when it's blended it will look much, much better, but I'm impressed with the pigmentation of this, if you guys can see. So now I'm going to take a fluffy blending brush and blend this out up to my eyebrow. So this is what it looks like with the lid colour and the crease colour in. Now I'm going to take this darkest colour here from the quad and apply that to my lash line. Okay, wow, so my first impressions of this one is that it's actually really nice. It's not even a black, but it still gives a really dark, smoky colour, and I think that's awesome. It's very pigmented. The last eyeshadow I'm going to be using is this lighter shade in this palette. And I'm going to be applying that to my tear ducts, as well as giving myself a little bit of a brow highlight. So let's see how this goes. Wow, this is really great actually. This is a great highlight color. I think I'm really impressed with this. I actually wasn't expecting much because it's hard to find such a vibrant and pigmented shimmery white, so that's really impressive. The The last Daiso product that I'm going to be trying out is a mascara. So I'm just going to curl my lashes really quickly so that we can try out and see how good this mascara is. I kind of have low hopes for it. So let's hope that it, you know, sort of impresses me and is better than what I'm expecting. This is the mascara that I chose. So I chose the pink one with the black dots. That means that it's a black, not a brown mascara. And I'm pretty sure this one is for lengthening rather than volume. But I will let you know in the blog review that I'm doing just to make sure, because it could be the opposite. So the brush is very comparable to the Maybelline Great Lash, if you guys can see that there. It's just your basic fiber brush. So I'm going to see how this works. I'm not very good with fiber brushes. I do much prefer plastic bristles. So that's another struggle that we're going to overcome. So let's see how this works. I actually think this is an alright mascara. It's not my favorite mascara, but it's definitely not the worst mascara that I've ever tried. It's just a very basic mascara. And I think it worked out pretty well. It definitely dries hard, which is something that I thought was a bit interesting. It feels like it has some wax in it, because it's very curling and it also dries a little bit crunchy, so I think it might have some wax in it. Now just zooming out here, because I'm going to add a lipstick. I didn't get any of the lip products from Daiso just because I didn't want to try out, as I mentioned, a bunch of products. I already bought like a fair bit, so I didn't want to try out everything. I may go back and do a part 2 to this video after I get some more products and maybe try out some lip products, but for now I'm just going to be using this MAC Lustering lipstick. And so this is the finished look. I'm going to leave you with just a few last thoughts and overall opinions on Daiso makeup. I think that for less than $3 a piece, it is great makeup for what you're paying. It definitely isn't comparable to anything like MAC or YSL or Chanel, obviously, but it's sort of comparable to maybe brands like Essence and Models Prefer. It's around that sort of quality. So probably a bit of a step down from something like L'Oreal, Maybelline and Revlon. Also, it's sort of in between Revlon and Maybelline quality and Essence and Models Prefer. More so Essence and Models Prefer. So for $3, I mean, if it's great if you're just starting out with makeup and you just want to try out colors and experiment with different eyeshadow palettes. I think that's awesome. I also did have a little trial to see if the eyeshadows worked better with or without an eye primer, and I would highly suggest an eye primer. I feel like it stuck a lot better to this eye, which is one with eye primer. It just had way less fallout, and just definitely use an eye primer. The Essence one is really cheap also. It's like $3.50 or something. So definitely worth, actually maybe it's like $5, but it's definitely worth investing in a good eye primer to use these eyeshadows, as it definitely impacts on the effectiveness of them. As for the foundation and concealer, I was highly impressed with the concealer. I think that if it was a few shades lighter, it would be amazing and perfect. As for the foundation, I was really impressed with that one. I thought that was the biggest thing that impressed me. I wasn't expecting much from that foundation. I mean, a $3 foundation, you cannot expect anything good to come from that. But I was quite impressed. And the stickiness has actually sort of stopped. Like, there isn't as much stickiness. I think it sort of dried or soaked into my skin, which isn't good either. But I was really impressed with the foundation. I think if you're starting out with foundation, it would be a good foundation to try out, as long as the color matches you. As I said, there wasn't much of a variety with colors. So if you can find a color to match you well, then go for it. But if not, it probably won't work out very well. I think that's everything I had to say regarding Daiso and their products. If you do have a specific question about one of the products that I used and you want to know what I thought about a certain aspect of it, then feel free to leave it as a comment. I always try and reply to all of my comments, so I'll definitely get around to replying to you. Please don't forget to thumbs up this video if you liked it, and thumbs up and let me know in a comment if you would like to see part 2 of this video where I try out more Daiso products. I think it's just a great brand that will give sort of like affordable makeup, which is awesome, especially for Aussies. We never get cheap makeup like this. So yeah, don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe for videos every Monday and Thursday, and I'll talk to you really soon in my next video. Bye everyone.